Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Don't put that in the intro.
It's already there.
Shit.
Shit.
Shit. Hey, welcome to episode 54 of Front Seat Gamer. I'm Nick. I'm here with Saveun
Hey, Nick.
and Blake.
What's up?
How's it going, guys?
It's going good, Nick.
It's been a... You sound weird there.
I'm talking through my teeth right
Yeah, it's true. He's
getting ready.
gritting his teeth.
He's getting ready.
This might get heated
No,
because...
I don't think it will.
Well, we'll see. I'll see if I can get it heated. We were talking just before we started about... It's been a big week for games, right? Horizon Zero Dawn came out. Zelda came out. Switch came out. We launched our Legacy League last Saturday. There was also GDC. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I hear.
Before we really get into it, did anybody really hear anything big from GDC?
I don't think there were any major announcements. At least if there were, I didn't see any or hear any.
neither.
But,
I read something about Hello Games, but they kind of...
Oh, talking about Hello Games. They released their new their latest update.
Yeah, they've also got like a funding thing for like procedural stuff.
Oh, really?
There's an article on Game Sutra. That's all I'll say about it.
Oh, yeah. They won an award for most innovative something, and the thing is, like, they were at
Innovative
GDC.
marketing.
Yeah, best marketing. No, they won an award for most innovative or whatever. But they didn't. They were at GDC and they didn't expect to win. Especially after their terrible launch thing. So they were all just hanging out in their hotel room when they got this text saying like, "Hey, you guys have won. You should probably head down to the actual stage thing."
Wow.
And they're like, "Oh, cool."
So did they do a speech?
No, Tim Schafer, I think,
Accepted
accepted
it
it for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna have someone accept your award, Tim Schafer's about as good as you can
Pretty
get.
good. Yeah.
Well, normally we don't super talk about game news very much on this because, we talk a little bit about it, but we don't we're not. At least I'm not a super avid.
No, we just talk
Payer
about
of
the stuff
attention news.
that piques our interest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whenever
You know.
I find stuff interesting. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But this week we're talking about news because the newest, biggest games in quite a while have come out, and two of us have played at least one of them each. I've been playing Zelda,
Yep.
and Saveun's been playing
A little bit of Horizon.
Horizon. When you say a little bit, let's put that in hours. How many hours have you
Maybe
played?
2.
That is a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it?
Not really.
Interesting.
I'm enjoying it. I
Okay.
guess it's a video game.
Let's talk about. So I've been in the past sort of vocally critical about what I felt were flaws or things that were overlooked or weird game design decisions in terms of how to theme a weapon or whatever. Right. I thought, for example, the rope gun thing.
Oh, that's right. You had a real problem with the
I-
rope gun.
I didn't like it, and I
You
stand
just
by
didn't.
that.
You just didn't like that it didn't act like a real rope.
Yes,
That
because
it just pinned them no matter what direction the rope was in.
right, which is to me silly because you've themed it around something that's going to be physics based. You're expecting it to lasso people or whatever it is to the object that you place it on, but it just sort of creates an area of tension around wherever they're standing, regardless of where the base of the rope is. Right, it's just weird. Right,
I feel like
if it were a chain that wraps around the monster,
Yeah.
or almost anything
well,
else.
I think I remember saying man, if there was just some electrical particle effects on that rope, then
Yeah.
you could be like, oh, it's a sci-fi
stunning them or
rope,
something.
and
Yeah.
it's acting in a weird way.
Yeah, but it's just a rope.
But it I think you can give some things a pass like that because you can just say, well, it's video game logic and the rest of the game looks pretty fantastic. So I'm okay with this one
Yes.
rope not acting like a rope.
But it was in all the demos we had seen up to that point, that was that was the most featured weapon,
Yeah, kind of
and it
was.
didn't behave the way you would expect.
Yeah.
So to me, that was an ill omen. And then there was like a scene where the main character is talking to some random dude, and the dialogue I just hated.
Oh, that's right.
I just hated it so much. I remember I watched it again, like at work, and I sent a link to Eric and said, "Look at this bad dialogue. It doesn't. Why are they saying these things the way they're saying them? Why is she telling us that she doesn't run away from a fight?
Is
just,
it? Yeah,
just don't run away from a fight.
I mean,
like, that's how you communicate that.
They're telling you that. That guy is not telling the woman that. He's telling the player that to be like, this is what the world is. And the woman is telling that guy that. She's actually telling the player that to be like, here's what my character is like.
Yes, that's exactly the problem I have with it. Is it's really lazy. It's like, I'm very brave. Oh, well, I'm very scared.
It's that thing of that you see in like some not so great like TV shows in the first episode where someone will come along and be like, I'd be like, dude, as your best friend since high school, I know you more than anyone, and you're acting weird.
It's expository.
It's
like it's just telling you the information you need to know to understand the broader story.
Yeah,
as opposed to like seamlessly working it in and you just picking it up as you're watching it. So I found that kind of dumb, and but people love this game. It's been very very well. It looks gorgeous. Graphically, that game is astounding.
Yep, it does look pretty good. I have issues with it. I never really care about story. A lot of people are really hung up on this poor lip syncing, right?
I've heard
like,
something about inconsistent facial animations or something like that.
Dialogue it's just garbage. Like there are really bad parts about this game. I'm not playing it for these reasons. Look at those goddamn clouds.
Yep, those clouds are pretty great.
You're playing it for the clouds.
I'm playing
not
it
the dinosaurs, not the robot dinosaurs.
But I just want to. It's a modern video game. I'm playing it to see how a modern video game looks.
Have you been enjoying it though?
Yep. It's okay.
Where does it rank?
I haven't played enough of it yet, so I don't feel like I can comment, but I can say that yes, there's some garbage physics in that thing.
Interesting physics.
Yep.
Now tell me a little more about that.
There's a guy with a beard, and a cape. The beard is just, it's going through his freaking chest half the time.
Okay.
It's doing a bunch of that. Necklaces are going through chests. There's
Dude,
a guy.
that's Witcher quality, right? There. I see that in Witcher all the time.
It's kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
Because you wonder how much like joints they have, or if they try to animate it, because it's quite a big feature on this one guy.
I always find it weird when there's like stuff like that is so obvious, because like if you're dealing with a character that you see in those like conversational cutscenes and you see them up close, and there's stuff intersecting and acting weird and is distracting. I don't know how that makes it past QA or something. Like just fudge some verts around so it's not intersecting.
I don't understand why they couldn't animate it.
I would guess it. I mean, it could, correct me if I'm wrong, but this sounds like probably a time constraint issue, right?
Maybe.
It probably is. Like, there's probably too many.
But you remember they're like animating this guy's face to talk as well.
Yeah.
And the guy's goatee is probably
just rigid.
10% of that frame.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe the beard was added later.
The physics is garbage. I was telling Blake the walk cycles in one of the first like follow tutorial missions, the guy's just got a really janky walk cycle.
Oh, weird.
Those are the things bothering me about this game. But models, textures, they look cool.
So in terms, you're really assessing this from a technical standpoint, and not just in terms of like the actual technology behind like making volumetric clouds, but also like the techniques in animating the beards and stuff like that. Have you paid attention too much to like gameplay oddities or anything like that? Like, What do you think about the gameplay?
This is one thing Ryan at work pointed out. He was on the podcast a little while ago. It's cool to have like a resource. There's like a currency exchange going into your like hunting animals or whatever. So you'll just go around and you'll have to craft your own arrows and things like that.
Sure.
And it may take you say like 3 arrows to actually take down a watcher, one of these little raptor things.
Sure.
But it takes you, some resources to actually craft those arrows.
Yeah.
And so there's this trade, and you actually have to keep your eye on whether or not going up against a certain enemy, you could come out of it in
with
a
loss or
worse
whatever. Right.
Yeah.
An economic loss because you've invested those arrows or something like that in the fight.
Yep.
But the cost of making those arrows doesn't it outweighs the value that you get from that fight.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
So it's interesting you say that because there's a similar thing going on in Zelda. I will off the bat say I love this Zelda Breath of the Wild. It might be the best game I've ever played.
We just watched a clip before. There was
Yes.
some cool stuff in there.
Yeah. So the clip we watched was a YouTuber called Donkey, just kind of screwing around, doing like funny physics stuff, and you can do all of that stuff. But beyond that, the game systems are so sound, and the world is so dense with things to do, and the characters are so thoroughly thought out that I am regularly blown away by just the random things I find. Literally every 5 minutes. So like I'm playing this and my girlfriend's in the same room and I keep going, "Oh my god, you have to see this thing." Like literally every 5 minutes, and I'm to the point where I'm worried that she's like getting really annoyed because I'm so excited for everything all the time. But there is a similar sort of resource trade-off there. If you've played a Zelda game before, I'm sure if you've paid any attention to this, you probably have heard, like, unlike normal Zelda games where you slowly build up an arsenal of items and weapons, and that allows you to reach more areas and do more things. In Breath of the Wild, you get your main tools really, really quickly. Like you get like the 4 powers or whatever it is within like an hour or two of playing, and then that's it in terms of things that help you unlock new areas. And then the rest of the time you just have to use those tools in creative ways to progress through the game. And your weaponry, unlike previous Zelda games where you have like your Master Sword or whatever, and once you have it, and everything's great. Your weaponry has durability, and if it breaks, it's gone, and you can't really repair it. So you are constantly cycling through items and weapons, just because there's no other way. Like if you're in a fight and you're hitting something with a mace, and that mace breaks, and you don't have any other weapons, you better start running to find a new weapon, or you better find like a creative way to defeat whatever you're fighting, or you better just run away from the fight because you're nothing to fight with.
So you can't repair your weapon at all?
No. Everything has like some sort of durability. Some of them are like quite tough.
Yeah.
You might find like a royal halberd or something like that, which is like a pretty good weapon.
Yeah.
Deals decent damage and lasts quite a while.
Okay.
But you also might find like a dragon bone bokoblin mace or something like that, which is like does quite a lot of damage, but breaks in a few hits. And so then you sort of assess, okay, I'm fighting this I'm fighting this normal bokoblin, and I have these really good weapons, but I also have this like crappy stick.
Right.
I'm going to use the stick for this fight because
Okay.
I can hit him. I can take him down in like 5-6 hits, and if the stick breaks, it's no big loss. And then I can swap that stick out for whatever he's carrying. So there's an upgrade mechanic there. But if I use this weapon that deals like a huge amount of damage,
you're using
I might hit him. I might kill him in one hit.
Yeah.
But that hit could have been better spent on a much tougher enemy, basically. And there's the same, like this happens with all of your melee weapons, all of your bows, and all of your shields. And then arrows are obviously a resource as well.
Is there any crafting? Are you crafting weapons or anything like that?
I think there is. I haven't reached it yet. The game is enormous. I played it probably a good 12 hours on the weekend that I got it, and then I played it probably 2 hours every night since, and I would guess I'm less than a third of the way through. And I've found a bunch of villages that I literally haven't talked to anybody in.
Oh, wow.
Because there's just, once I start talking to people, there's just endless quests and interactions and
That's
cool.
cool. That's cool too, because all the videos I've seen of it haven't shown any villages or anything. It's just been out in the grasslands, like killing those goblin dudes.
The grass, like the open world stuff is super fun, and there's just always stuff to do. So like footage of that is always entertaining. The towns are more structured, and you can do wacky stuff in the towns as well. But like, there's no enemies around, so
Right.
doing the wacky stuff is more or less pointless.
How big are the towns?
They vary in size.
Are they the ones with like walls, like walled off, like, town wall type thing, like with a big gate, that sort of thing? Or is it just like a few houses?
So I reached one last night called the Gerudo City, and that one is walled, and they don't let men in.
That's weird.
Yeah, the Gerudo race has a different word for men and women,
Yeah.
and their sacred city is for women only.
Oh, wow.
And if I remember correctly, like, there's only like ever one man born every 7 years or something like that.
Oh, man.
Lucky guy.
Well, I think in Ocarina of Time, that one man was Ganondorf. So
Oh,
he was real
he
bad.
is pretty lucky.
Yeah.
How are you going to get into the city?
So, well, right now, I don't want to tell you that this is spoiler stuff. Anyway, there's a way. I'm working on it.
Okay.
But yeah, that one's a walled city. But there's like places like Kakariko Village, which is sort of nestled in a between these like mountains,
Okay.
sort of like in a valley. And there's like Hateno Village, which is sort of up the hill. Like it's sort of the village sort of stretches up a hill, and then like halfway up the hill, the village sort of thins out, and you can keep going. And there's a giant research center. Well, not giant. There's a research center up at the very top of the hill.
Does it feel like a living kind of world with like
yeah.
NPCs traveling between towns or
Yeah.
anything like that?
Yes. It's not like any NPC can be traveling anywhere, but
Yeah.
like you'll be walking around in the woods and you'll come across some NPCs who are like foraging for truffles.
Cool.
And or like you'll find merchants who are just walking between the cities.
That's cool. Yeah.
And sometimes you'll find the same character in different places, like they're traveling around as well.
Cool.
And they'll recognize you and they'll update you on what they've been doing and stuff. All of the characters are so well written and so thoroughly thought out, and they've got so many different states for their like what they're doing. Like if you walk into someone's house and they're asleep and you wake them up, they'll comment on the fact that you've just woken them up. And if you wait until they wake up naturally and they're like walking to the field to till some pumpkins or whatever, you can talk to them and they'll talk about the fact that they're on their way to work.
Oh, cool.
And then you can talk to them in the field and they'll talk about their work.
Yeah.
And then you can talk to them on their way back home and they'll talk about something different.
And then they'll talk about some annoying guy that keeps following them around trying to talk to them.
Well, maybe. Like I have there's so many different things I keep discovering. It's so crazy. Like the depth just within like character dialogue is ridiculous. I talked to one there's a girl in Kakariko Village who like kind of clearly has a crush on you.
Yep.
And
so you followed her around and kept asking her what she was doing.
She's like, "Oh, it's so nice to see you. How are you doing?" And then like I go into her grandmother's house and she's like cleaning the floor and I talk to her. She's like, "Oh, don't walk up on me and startle me like that. I'm so sorry." And then like I start flirting with her and accidentally, and she mentions a birthmark, and then you get the option to like ask where the birthmark is.
Oh yeah, here we go.
And she'll be like, "Oh, it's and the grandmother's like, change the subject. We better change the subject, Link."
So you got to wait till the grandma's not around to ask her about that. Yeah. Now I see why you like this game so much.
It's so great. And there's just this running gag of like Link's a hottie. Like all these characters just keep hitting on Link.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful. That game is so good. Every time I'm like not playing it, I'm wishing I was playing it.
Yeah, that's cool.
How are the temples?
Okay, so they're the shrines. There's these like normal Zelda
They're
game.
kind of like portals, right? You kind of get teleported into these things.
No.
Oh, that's one of your beefs in open world games, right?
I saw a couple of them. You like unlock a like teleporter thing.
Oh, there,
and then you get transported into it.
There's quick travel.
Okay.
Like, you can teleport to these locations after you've unlocked them.
Okay.
Which is really helpful because the game is like the world is huge, and ridiculously there's always stuff to do. Pretty much no matter where you are, you're in line of sight of something crazy to do. But being able to quick travel to the locations you found is very helpful if you're really like objective oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever get like just from what you just said, like always in line of sight of something crazy to do?
Yeah.
Does that ever feel like a sort of a Disneyland, like a fake world at that point?
No. That's what another thing that really impresses me is very rarely feels contrived. So like I'll be walking I'll be just because I want to. I'll climb to the top of a mountain, and when I get to the top of the mountain, there's just gonna be there's a little rock sitting there,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna pick up that rock because why is it here? That's really strange. And so I pick it up, and then like a little korok, which these little plant people, he appears and goes, "Ha! You found me. Here's a seed."
What the hell?
And you're like, "What? Awesome!"
So now you're turning over every rock that you see.
That's exactly right. And I'll walk past some ruins.
Yeah.
And there's a well, and near the well, there's like a boulder on a chain.
Right.
Oh, that's weird. I'm
Yeah.
gonna, you know what? I'm gonna put the boulder in the well, and then a Korok appears, and he gives me a seed. And it's just like there's all these little like subtle puzzles.
Yeah.
Like,
that you don't know are puzzles really. Like.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, this is kind of an interesting
Yeah.
thing. This looks out of place, or this looks just sort of, oh, I wonder what happens if I do this. And lo and behold, this is like one of these secret objectives and there's hundreds of them.
That's cool because there are a lot of open world games I've played where you'll find something like, you know, somewhere off in the environment, like an obelisk thing.
Yeah.
And it's just there and you have there's nothing,
no
interaction with it.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, that's weird. Maybe it'll be a quest thing later on or something. Yeah. And then sometimes it is and sometimes it's just something that an artist thought would be cool there.
Yep.
Which is kind of cool. I mean, you don't have to know every single thing in the world, but
Right.
it is, it is nice to have a game where that kind of rewards you for exploring like that.
Oh, I've never felt so rewarded for exploring. When I played, I used to play Rift. I played Rift shortly for a little while when it came out. It's an MMO. And my favorite thing about that game were these like exploration bonuses you'd get. If you got to somewhere hard to get to,
Oh yeah,
you'd get like a bonus. And Guild Wars 2 had it as well.
I remember. I think Guild Wars 2 had these actual hidden like dungeons that were kind of they were more like a hidden area that didn't really like show itself on the map. But you'd go there and it'll be a lot of like jumping puzzles and things like that.
Yeah.
And there's always like good loot at the end. But they were just completely side things and usually hidden away somewhere. And so you really had to look for them.
Yeah. So, I mean, in Zelda, there's like some kind of obvious ones, and there's like some sort of subtler ones, and there's ones that you could very easily miss them.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. This may be a bit spoilery. It's not a story spoiler, but it is like a quirky interaction thing. I'm on the way to one of these villages. I'm passing under these gates, and I noticed at the top of one of the gates there's like some arrows sticking out. I'm like, oh, this is some cool storytelling. Someone was using the gate as target practice. And then I just went about, and then I came back to that game. I was like, you know what? I wonder if there's something to that. And so I shot an arrow at like the thing that was near where the arrows were.
Oh, okay.
Korok appears, and I get a bonus. And it's just like,
is that another seed?
Yeah. These seeds, I still don't know.
Is it just seeds? Is that the reward for everything?
Koroks are all seeds. I don't know what the seeds are for yet, but I have 70-something of them now. It's so much fun.
Can you plant them?
No, I think they're basically a currency for something later.
Okay.
But I just haven't got to that part yet. But I'm having so much, like, just finding them and collecting them is so much fun.
Yeah, okay.
But so to talk about these shrines that you mentioned, you find these shrines, and you do go into a separate area. Like there's an elevator to a lower area, so there's a load screen there. There are very few load screens in the game, but the shrines are where the load screens are most of the time. Mm-hmm. The only other times you get load screens are when you're quick traveling or when you die, and you have to reload into a location.
Gotcha.
But the shrines vary in size and complexity quite a lot. They can just be really simple. You enter a room and you fight a robot thing, and it's pretty easy, and then you get your reward or whatever. But then there's like ones that are really quite large and complex. There was one where it was like a sequence of puzzles where I had to use the powers I had in interesting ways and in combination. Like I have to slide a thing to knock a ball into a door to open up the door. Then I have to stop these spiked balls that are rolling all over the place. And then I have to light this thing on fire to set off another thing. And then I have to use a hammer to hit a thing. And there's just like all these mini puzzles that end up kind of intertwining before I finally get my reward. Mm-hmm. And so they vary quite a lot. And they take the place of the normal Zelda dungeon style, which is where there's like a linear progression from dungeon to dungeon. You get an item, You complete all the puzzles that in some way probably involve the item you've got. You get your reward, and then you go to the next dungeon. These are all non-linear. You can go to any of them and do any of them at any point.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, how's the water tech in that game?
They don't have like waves. Not like cool waves. Not like GTA style waves.
Yeah, no one's really got good waves.
GTA's got good waves, and we've actually we're getting some good waves. We've shown off our little.
Well, with
We're
Horizon,
making waves.
We're making waves.
Making waves.
Alex is making waves.
Alex is making waves.
the Horizon water's complete garbage, man.
Okay.
It's like a guy's waving clear plastic or something at one end, and it's like fixed at the other, and it's
Right.
just like this glad wrappy, cling
Huh.
wrap, whatever. Yeah, it's garbage, and your character doesn't get wet or anything.
Okay.
There's
Link gets wet. Yeah. And he, like you get out of the lake and he's like dripping water and stuff.
that's cool.
And the water's like not like ugly. It's just not like going out of its way to be super realistic.
Mm.
I mean, it's cartoon water, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just-
I get it.
Yeah, it's not even. I mean, it's not super cartoony either. It's got it's got the transparency, and you can if you look at it from different angles, it's got like distortions and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
good looking.
there's
It's
no
just
there's
not.
no visual signal in Horizon that your character is wet. Do you see what I mean?
Right.
Like in Uncharted, it'll show you. It's kind of cool,
Mm.
but unless you kind of like do a barrel roll into a river, then run out the other end, and you're just bone dry
Right.
running out the other end.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah, it's
no
wavy.
extra spec just put on them.
Nothing, man. And yes, some people have actually commented because in the tutorial, there's some really weird funk with the skin wet shader.
Oh, really?
You'll see it.
Yeah.
It'll look really bad, and then you'll never see it again.
Huh.
Yeah.
So
So there is quirks like that.
the water in Zelda is like one of the only hazards you can't really directly deal with. You can swim around on the surface of it. You can never dive underneath. And most of your interactions with water are as like I don't want to get in the water or I need to get something out of the water.
But you can't dive into the water and get stuff. You can't swim around under the surface.
Right. You can swim on the surface, and
Yeah.
if there's fish nearby, you can grab them.
It's like
Okay.
Grand Theft Auto 4.
You can't dive underwater? I thought.
I don't think so.
No,
oh,
isn't there
it's four?
scuba
Oh, it's
diving? Oh,
Four.
oh, four, yeah.
Four, yeah, that sounds
yeah.
familiar. Yeah. But in 5, you can totally swim around.
Oh yeah, there are whales.
There are whales?
Yeah, man.
Oh, man.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Apparently,
Ah,
I've only seen them in mods. I've never actually.
Oh,
seen them in the
right.
freaking game.
You can
there's
go.
there's a Yeti.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, there's a Bigfoot.
are you serious?
Yeah.
In Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah.
No, I don't believe you.
There is.
All right, Zelda.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like water is more there either as like a barrier or a hazard or as a tool. There's a spell called Cryonis, which is the ability to like create frozen blocks of ice from any body of water, and then you can climb on it. And that includes waterfalls. So if there's a waterfall, you can create a frozen block of ice that's sticking out of the side of it, and then you can climb on it, and you
Oh,
can
wow.
basically use them as ladders. You just keep making these blocks and climb
That's cool.
waterfalls slowly but surely. The freedom to do stuff in that game is just ridiculous.
You know what? What I got, like looking back on what's happening with video games, what I feel
Mhm.
is open world games is where it's at, man.
Yep.
Would you agree?
That's that's definitely where developers are all headed at the moment.
Fuck yeah.
Do you think it's like this? The tech is just now is there now
No,
to
no.
allow for open world stuff?
Like it's always been there.
I mean, have you played Oblivion?
No.
Like they were doing some open world stuff, but man, it's pretty empty.
Like
And
I would
Morrowind
never.
as well, right?
yeah,
I,
not Oblivion. I mean Morrowind. Yeah.
I mean, they've been doing open world games since like the 90s.
But I mean, open world games I think are hitting this mark where they know like the amount of stuff to put into an open world to make it fun. It's not just like, yeah, we have an open world with like nothing between point A and point B,
Yeah.
Mm.
I think the thing that we're now reaching is the thing that's improving about open worlds. Part of it is like the tech, right? Part of it is you can now make an open world that looks and feels real. because there's physics and because things react to wind or whatever. But part of it is people's design philosophies about open worlds have changed quite a lot, and people are realizing that like on top of having the big points of interest, you need little interesting quirks to keep people interested in actually exploring and to make the exploring fun.
Yeah.
And I think there's no better show of that than the Zelda game right now. Like this, I'm just blown away. Exploring is so much fun. There's this quick travel, and I almost never use it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but man, open worlds have been good for a while.
Yeah, no,
I
they
wouldn't
have
hold
been.
it to a single company standard.
No, I'm just saying that they're sort of, I don't know. It's almost like it's a golden age of open worlds, I think.
Right now?
Yeah.
We're getting there.
We're getting there where it's like, yeah, they're really good now.
Yeah. Well, I've been wanting to see more, and I'm, I like that Guerrilla's made the jump because everyone's really positive about Horizon.
Yeah, dude. Like, just talking to people in the office that have been playing it, like, I haven't heard, like, the negative stuff has been, like, the minor things like lip sync and, like, some weird animations and stuff. Nothing about, like, bad gameplay or like, it's just not, it's
Feels
boring
good,
or whatever.
man.
It's,
Like she stops when you stop moving that freaking joystick, like, on a T kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, certain games like Grand Theft Auto, there's that inertia.
Yeah,
that will
yeah.
continue
There's a
them for
slowdown
little-
in it, yeah.
So it's really hard to position them just right.
Yeah. Do you think, like, how is her, like, animations and stuff? Like, do you think all the focus was on her and less on other things?
Yeah, most likely. She's good.
How's her lip syncing?
Garbage. In
It's
some
just
parts.
across the board.
Dude,
like, not great.
There's definitely like a cinematic LOD, and then there's like a base game LOD.
Yeah.
And that one is
Now, LOD,
complete.
by LOD you mean level of detail?
That's exactly what I mean,
Okay,
Nick. And
yeah.
it is garbage, man. She when you're playing her
Yeah.
early on, she'll say, "Oh, I've got to look for some guy," and I kind of spun the camera around to actually just watch her face.
Oh, right. You can do that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I was like, "Oh, her lips aren't even moving. This is."
You know why? Because you're not supposed to be looking.
I was like, "This is complete garbage," and I actually saw them, and it was like freaking ventriloquist doll
Oh,
type.
man. Yeah, yeah.
Opening, and I was like,
Ah.
"Oh god, like
But is that a case of, like,
what's going on here?"
is that something like you were in the third person and then you're talking to someone, but then you swung the camera around to see if she was talking, right?
It wasn't a cinematic. It was like in game.
Yeah.
You're playing as her. She's kind of just talking to herself,
Oh, okay.
and then you're just given a quest, and then
Yeah.
I happened to swing the camera around and
yeah,
saw
yeah.
her freaking garbage.
But, I mean, you can argue that, like, that's
Oh,
a
yeah.
pretty rare thing to
It is,
swing
but-
around
but
and
what
take
it-
a look
what,
at.
What it means is that there is a certain amount of joints on this character,
Yep.
but it means that the developers chose to only assign maybe one joint
Yeah.
to her jaw,
Right, right.
and that's all she is capable of.
But that's just in non-cutscene dialogue, right?
Mm.
In cutscene dialogue, it's different.
Yeah, it is.
Like when it's the two talking heads or whatever, the Mass Effect style.
Yep, the LOD Zeros are capable of better quality lip syncing.
LOD 0. What do you mean by
LOD
level of
Zero
detail
would
0?
be LOD Zero is like the hero, the highest quality level,
Right.
and then
okay.
every following number is lesser.
lower.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So, how much of this is also down to, like the amount of dialogue? Because, for example, Skyrim had reasonably good lip syncing,
Mhm.
and there was also a lot of dialogue in that game,
Mhm.
so that makes it quite impressive. But
Nick, people aren't animating it. There are tools and plugins that
Sure.
actually automate it.
someone's going in and touching it all up, because there's always going to be problems.
Very unlikely.
I would be very surprised if someone wasn't doing a
Not
pass on
not
all those.
all of it up, is what I'm saying. Like people would touch some of it up, but there are
You'd fix up
obvious
the obvious
examples.
flaws.
Yeah.
But there's someone scrubbing through all of the dialogue and all of the associated animations and making sure that they're good enough.
sure.
But in a game like Horizon, do you think it was just like there wasn't enough manpower, or there wasn't
Probably.
enough time, or they wanted to put their resources elsewhere, or they just didn't care or whatever? Like what?
I definitely think it was a resources thing. from what I heard about Gorilla, they outsource a whole bunch of their art, a huge amount of it actually.
We had a listener who did some art, right?
I think so.
Oh,
Yeah, we were
yes.
talking about the trailer.
After you
Yes, after I was
bitched about the ropes.
Well, you know what? You should have done better ropes.
Yeah, from what I remember, that was from their first E3 presentation.
Yeah.
And he wrote in saying that, those ropes were like a bit of a last-minute sort of thing to go in, so that might be why they were looking,
Yeah,
I don't know, weird.
it's possible. But regardless,
I remember seeing a company Guerrilla Studios overview type video. It was on YouTube somewhere, and they were talking about how a lot of that art is made out of their studio, and the guys in studio, oversee all that kind of stuff. So I wonder if a lot of that lip syncing was outsourced, and maybe the people that saw and checked off on it maybe didn't have the ability to correct it. They were just dialogue people, maybe.
Yeah, it could be. It could also just be that, like, for a game of a huge scale, with a specific deadline, and I suspect that this deadline was chosen in part to compete with Nintendo Switch and Zelda.
Probably did.
Smart, yeah.
Did.
Even though I talked to Jonathan about this briefly as well. He thinks no.
No?
He thinks that there is probably no.
It's just a coincidence that they happen to come out at the same time.
Yeah, I think he obviously he also runs a business, so he probably knows better than I do. But his instinct is you try to not compete with people.
Yeah, for sure.
But my feeling is, if you are competing for people's limited money, trying to buy a Switch and a game is a lot harder than just trying to buy a game. And so Sony trying to minimize the Switch install base by launching a must-have game or whatever seems totally reasonable to me.
I think I don't know Jonathan's thinking on it, but he's he might be thinking of it as a person that runs a gaming company, and as a gaming company, you don't really want to compete with other. But as a massive publishing thing like Sony, I'm pretty sure they're all about
trying to aggressively grab market share. Or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, Guerrilla Games probably were like, man, we don't really want to compete with the Switch, but damn it, Sony.
Yeah, PlayStation's really pushing.
They're really pushing us to do this.
But that tight deadline means making sure that you don't have show-breaking bugs versus making sure that your lip syncs look good. Like you gotta, if you're gonna choose one, you gotta go with the things that are gonna actually cause.
I mean, it is kind of a minor thing.
Problems.
Like you were complaining about lip syncing in The Witcher, and I never really had a problem with it.
I know, dude. These are really nitpicking.
Yeah.
Like the things I pay attention to it's interesting for me because I do a lot of this.
Yeah.
I like looking at. Well, it's a good way to gauge how video games are, right?
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. Like, I mean, Uncharted's lip syncing is fantastic, right?
Yeah. In certain cases, yeah. Other ones.
That scene on the couch, man. I've watched that a couple of times. It's like this is some real stuff. Like,
Dude, I want to talk about that game a little more.
Uncharted?
Yeah, I might do it. I want to combine a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, man,
I think I'm doubling down on this NZ GDC talk.
Oh yeah.
I'm preparing for it. Yeah. So I'm just
going to talk about Uncharted.
I'm just gonna, yeah.
Which you did not work on.
No, but yeah, there are reasons. But I'm fully sidetracked.
Is that then a sign that the game is actually really good if you're picking on these little things instead of something massive that this is a game breaking piece of shit or something?
Sure. Yeah. They are really good now. Man.
Yeah.
But they take huge amounts of resources. They build from previous tech. It's only gonna get better.
Yeah.
It's part of what makes Zelda such an interesting example is that I don't know that they were building from previous tech, because Zelda games have done open world stuff before. Like Hyrule Field and Ocarina of Time was one of the earliest mass appeal open world things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just took that and scaled it up, right? They just went times 1,000, and then there you got a game.
And call it a day.
Yep.
They just cut and paste Hyrule Field.
Yeah,
and that's why I keep running into Epona. It's amazing to me how divergent from the normal series Breath of the Wild is. Zelda has established, or at least popularized, a lot of things that we take for granted in games. Things like
Rupees.
rupees, hearts from enemies, like picking up health from enemies.
Mhm.
That's such a classic game trope, and hearts as the thing that you pick up. Like the thing that you pick up is also the thing that is your resource.
Mhm.
Like that's such a classic trope. The get an item, progress further trope is a really classic one. And they've done away with so many of these. You don't pick up hearts from enemies. You don't even pick up rupees from most enemies. The only enemies that drop rupees are humans.
So you're killing humans.
You are. I've killed several humans.
Whoa.
They are part
Who's
of
the Ganon now?
Ooh. Well, these people were followers of Ganon, so
Oh, well,
fine.
it's fine then.
Yeah, totally fine. They
Fine.
didn't have wives or children or anything, right?
No, they were probably terrible. They're definitely terrible people.
But they did away with so many things and like put some really risky things in that game, and it's totally worked. Like the weapon system that I mentioned before, giving someone that system and saying, you know what, any item you pick up is only going to be temporary and it's going to break, and you're going to have to find something new. That is such a big risk.
It's also a system that doesn't pop up, and I can't think of another game that has that.
It's shooters sort of have it, like Halo sort of has that, where you can only hold 2 guns. And when a gun runs out, you probably want to swap to a new gun. Functionally, the durability system is very similar to an ammo system.
Yeah, good point.
But you can't restore ammo in this Zelda game. Like you can't, because you can't fix your weapon. You have to be very careful if you want this weapon to stick around. Very careful how you use it.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, I didn't know how I was going to feel either, but it means that every fight, I feel like I'm being clever and resourceful.
Right.
Like if my weapon breaks and I don't want to like switch to another weapon, I like start throwing bombs and like trying to lead the enemy into traps and like throwing boulders at them and chopping down trees, hoping for a tree branch or something like that. You know, like or like knocking them down and taking their weapon and using it against them.
Do you feel like if you are forced to use your good sword and kill these like weak guys, that even though you beat them, it's a failure because you were forced to use your best weapon and it's ticked down a bit in durability because of it? I don't feel like it's a failure because. But is it a hollow victory?
Well, yeah, it's more like well, that wasn't. This is the min-maxer in me. Like that wasn't super efficient.
Yeah.
Right. But I also know, like, well, I know that this weapon is like any of the other ones is strictly temporary, and I also know that there are many more weapons to be found, and it's got this sort of ARPG element of like when you find a great item, you feel really excited, and because those items are only temporary, that excitement doesn't go away. When you find like, and it's fine to find bad weapons as well because they have their own use. Taking on like lower tier enemies with bad weapons feels fine.
So there was an episode not too long ago where Saveun talked about holding on to, I think, rocket launchers in Doom or something.
Yeah, any first person.
Yeah, in any first person shooter, and never using them because they felt like a precious thing.
Yeah.
Right. You have 4 rockets.
Do you
or whatever.
ever feel like that in Zelda, where you're like, I've got this, I've got the flaming sword of death, but I better save it for a special occasion, and then that special occasion never happens because you never want to use it. You never want to. Like,
I have a little bit of that. Like, so right now I'm carrying around a great Thunderblade.
Yeah.
Which is like a sword that glows yellow, and while it's glowing yellow, if I hit something, it electrocutes them.
Wow.
And then it stops glowing yellow.
How many times have you used it?
Up. Well, I found a few of them. So I actually got to blow through a few of them.
Oh, that's cool.
And that sort of helped me like not save these things. But I also know that like I've encountered enemies that had huge life pools, and if I don't have high damage, good durability weapons, I can't kill them very easily. And so it's more like I'm picking and choosing where to use the weapons that I'm saving. I've got some very, very good weapons. And I fully expect to use them against very tough enemies.
Yeah.
And then I've got some like medium and low tier weapons that I use in other encounters because like that feels fine. It's fine. Like I don't feel bad using a low tier weapon on a low tier enemy because I'm dispatching with the enemy, and there's tons of low tier weapons. but yeah, no, I don't ever feel like, oh, this is too precious. And in fact, the way you restore life in that game is similar to like Morrowind or like an Elder Scrolls game where you eat an item or whatever. You cook some food and you eat it, and that's how you restore your life. And in the same way that like in the Elder Scrolls games, you go to you open up your menu and you shove a bunch of food in the character's face in a split second, and then you're fine.
Yeah.
Same deal. And they can also provide like stat boosts, like defensive boosts or speed boosts. And you can only ever have one of these boosts active at a time, which means that there's part of me that wants to save them, but part of me also knows I can cycle through these quite quickly. I know where to find the resources to make more of these. And because I can only have one of them active at any given time, they are all approximately of equal value. And so I don't feel like I have one super special elixir that I need to save or one amazing meal that, I just use it when I need it, and I get the job done, and I feel good about it.
I guess the key then is to for that game is have it so that like everything is kind of readily like abundant. Like you're saying, and you know where to get ingredients for this. It's not like you spent 3 hours hunting down the ingredients for something, and you've got it, and you can only use it like once,
right?
And it's hard to get again. So
I mean, there are things that are rare and hard to get, but there are like worse versions of those things all over the place. Like even within the cooking system and whatever, like the food system, there are multiple tiers of quality. Like you've got your raw meat, and then you've got your like prime raw meat, and then you've got your delicacy raw meat. And each of those restores a different amount of life when it's cooked. And you've got like truffles, and you've got big truffles and stuff like that. So you've got different tiers within that. So I might save the really valuable thing for a tough fight in the same way that I save a really good weapon for a tough fight.
Okay.
But I'll use the low tier ones as needed when I feel like I need that speed boost to get away from this guy, or I need that extra stamina to climb this mountain or whatever it is, So the way that, because all items have short-term value, and the difference in value isn't huge, I don't feel punished for not saving stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. That game's great. Let me ask you, Saveun, Horizon, itemization in that game. Like I've seen you fight these like robot dinosaurs thing, and then you pick up like machine parts. Do you know like what do you do with that sort of stuff?
You put them towards arrows or
right. Okay, so it's like sort of similar.
Yeah.
Like how do you like? Is there food in that game?
Yeah, you pick herbs to heal yourself, like sort of like Resident Evil without the zombies.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just bushes,
right?
And they'll just be a generic restores health thing. Yeah, you can sell items, buy them. I'm guessing it's similar to any role-playing game, actually.
Right.
I get, even though I haven't played The Witcher, I get like a very Witcher 3 vibe.
Oh yeah.
While playing this game.
That's good.
Plus robot dinosaurs.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the one thing The Witcher was missing. Robot dinosaurs.
Yeah.
That's the expansion, though, right?
Yeah, that's the expansion.
She doesn't have 2 swords.
Oh, right. Does she have any swords?
She's got like a stabby dagger thing.
Oh, okay. It's mostly bows, right?
Yeah, she's got a bow, and
Bows
she's
and
got a
guns?
melee type thing.
Oh, okay.
With a spike on the end of it.
Ooh, a stick
A
with a
spear?
nail in the end.
Yeah, I think it is a
You're
spear.
describing a spear.
Yeah.
It's like a long thing, a long pointy thing.
That's just a big arrow, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a big arrow, but instead of like putting it in a bow, you like poke it at an enemy.
Yeah, she doesn't throw it or anything. Yeah.
Oh, you can throw spears in Zelda. So good.
You can throw everything in Zelda, can't you?
Yeah. Except for I can't throw leaves.
I saw a cool thing, cool video where someone got a boomerang and they were like, "Oh, cool! I'm going to throw this boomerang." And they threw it, and as it came back, a button prompt came up to catch it.
Yep.
And if you didn't catch it, it just
flies
sailed past you, and you're like,
Yep.
"Oh man, I got to go back and get it."
Yeah. Enemies will also try and catch your boomerang.
Yeah, we saw that video where an enemy caught it. I was
Yep.
like, "What?"
Yeah.
Now I don't want to throw a boomerang in case the enemy catches it.
The AI in that game is really interesting as well. You've got your dumb enemies who like you throw a bomb at them and they just run past it and you blow it up and they die. And then there are ones that will avoid the bomb. They're a little smarter, And then there are ones that will destroy the bomb while you're holding it,
Oh God.
and they'll be like, they'll really go like that.
Yeah.
It's so clever, yeah, and you can
That's
tell
cool.
like which ones are hard, or,
Right.
like smart, and which ones. And some of those enemies are terrifying. I was showing some people the game yesterday, and I was running through a field on a horseback. I just tamed this cute horse, and the girls I was showing, they called it Ginger, and we were riding through a field, and then I came across this guardian, which is these giant robotic spider things, and it locked onto me. And so I was trying to weave in and out, trying to avoid its laser beam, and it shot my horse, and I came flying off of it. Horse started to run away, and I'm like still trying to dodge this laser beam because it's still pursuing me. I try to get back on the horse. We start running again, and I'm almost out of range, and it blasts the horse, kills the horse.
Oh no.
And like people are now very sad, and I'm still trying to evade this giant, terrifying thing that I just know I can't kill.
That's cool.
It was exhilarating and terrifying, and man, the game's so good.
How do you know you can't kill it?
Well, you can kill it. I didn't feel prepared for it.
Okay.
I would have to close the gap. In a big open field, there's not a lot of cover, so I can't really like weave in and out of line of sight.
Okay.
I probably would waste a lot of my weapons trying to kill it. And if I didn't manage to kill it, I don't know how I would necessarily do trying to restock my arsenal at that point in time.
Gotcha.
So that sounds like a Horizons encounter. Then you're like, oh, I'll waste more resources fighting this thing than I would get from it.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
they also open world games. Skyrim is a good example. When you've completed a dungeon, there's not really much of a reason to revisit that dungeon. And when you're walking around the world, the way they deal with like empty world problems is there's just stuff that respawns.
Right.
And like sometimes you'll walk past a place and the bandit will come out and surprise you.
Is that? I understand that, but sometimes it annoys me where I'm like, I cleared out this bandit camp, but now I have to do it again.
Yeah.
And then again, and then again, and I'm like, God, that's a bummer of open world stuff, is when stuff respawns like that.
So, in Zelda, things stay empty until there's an event called the Blood Moon,
Right.
where all of the monsters in the world respawn at the same time, and you see it coming and you see it happening.
Oh, geez.
And
You
so,
see this bloody moon rise?
yeah, like the moon rises and it's
Is it the
starting to turn
moon?
red.
Is it the moon from what was it?
Majora's Mask? No,
Ah.
no, unfortunately not. But I thought that was a very interesting way of handling it.
Yeah.
They really directly let the player know things have respawned. Be careful.
So it's like part of the actual world as that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like a combination of like a bunch of games. I'm getting Zelda
Yep.
peppered with Monster Hunter, a little,
there's
a
some
little
Monster
bit
Hunter.
of Dark Souls,
Seasoned with a bit of Dark Souls.
I've
Yeah.
heard comparisons
Sprinkling.
to Dark Souls.
flash of yeah.
There's obviously comparisons to Skyrim, and there's comparisons to the Ubisoft open world games.
Yep.
There are these towers that you climb to reveal the map,
Mm.
Which is apparently an Ubisoft
Sounds like
trope.
the crew.
Sounds like every open world game ever.
But even the towers themselves have their own unique challenges. Every tower has a different challenge associated with climbing it. It's just so clever. They take every opportunity to give the player something different to do.
What's cool is like I think Zelda's set a pretty high bar for gameplay right now for open worlds.
Yes, it is.
And
it is the highest bar at this point.
I am
think.
hopeful that these future open world games will
rise to that level.
Yeah,
rise to
well,
the challenge.
we'll incorporate some of this where they
Yes.
find it, where they see necessary. And so, yeah, open worlds are going to get better.
You're talking about
Damn it,
Rockstar's The Witcher.
Rockstars, yeah, the Red Deads.
Yep, the Red Dead.
I'm very curious now that we know that there's a Red Dead game coming out. I'm very curious how that is handled in a post Zelda world. You know?
Well, imagine Zelda, but the monsters poo.
Oh, man.
I'm on board.
That's
I love it. Game of the year.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm trying to. Do monsters poo in Zelda? I don't think they do. There's no poo in Zelda.
I don't see any poo.
I haven't seen any poo yet.
Have you activated a tower in Horizons yet?
Not yet.
You know what they are, though, right?
Yeah, it's those zebra.
Yeah, dude,
giraffe-looking thing.
I thought that was such a cool idea.
Yep.
Like it's
What?
so you know in the trailers it has those huge like giraffe like
long neck dinosaur
yeah the
things?
huge long neck
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've
dinosaur
got like
guys.
a disc on the top of their
Yeah,
feet.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you're like, wow, that's crazy cool. Those are the towers that you climb up to activate
the map,
to reveal the map.
Interesting.
And they're walking around, and it's so freaking cool.
Yeah, that's
I
pretty
watched
cool.
a video where someone was like crawling around some ruins, and then they were up on this high wall, and one of those started walking by, and then they just jumped onto it, climbed up. And I was like, "Whoa, you can climb up those things. That's
Right.
cool." And then they went to the top and stabbed this thing in its head, and it revealed the map. And I was like, "Oh my god, those are the towers!"
Yeah,
Like
that's neat.
Yeah, it's cool. They were like walking all around the place.
I'm curious if they also do the same, like if they're like everyone is a unique challenge
Maybe
sort
I
of
don't
thing,
know.
because discovering that for Zelda was kind of a game changer for me.
Yeah, yeah.
That even like the utilitarian sort of things can be challenges in their own right is very cool to me.
Good games, man.
Man,
It's a good time
it's
to
been
play video games.
it's been a good week. For
It is
games.
a good week for video games.
People are liking Legacy.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say about that.
Yeah.
There's not a huge amount to talk about. You guys weren't involved in the Legacy
No,
League
I
at
didn't
all.
do anything.
I was heavily involved in like the implementation side of things and a little bit of the design.
I actually, for new listeners, do you want to say exactly what Legacy is and what game it's related to?
Sure. If you're listening to this and you don't know what Legacy is, I want you to email us at frontseatquestions@gmail.com and tell me how you found us.
Yep.
Because that is weird.
Dude, there's many ways now. We're getting new listeners.
Really?
Yep.
Neat.
I think.
Also,
don't know.
for the new listeners, Google Subaru Legacy. That's exactly what it is. It is fantastic.
Yeah. What is that?
I used to own a Subaru Legacy. Yeah, but you're talking about Path of Exile's Legacy
Yeah,
League.
Path of Exile. We all work for Path of for Grinding Gear Games. We work on Path of Exile. Legacy was the most recent challenge league that combined all previous leagues in an interesting way. It's pretty fun. But Zelda's better. No, I'm
Apples and oranges.
It's very, very different. There are some interesting ARPG elements in Zelda, though, which I was not expecting. But man, Zelda, if I'm so in love with this game. I don't know if it's obvious yet.
Oh, another thing that bums me out about Horizon is, man, there's like tall grass, right?
Yep.
And you can hide in it. It's like a thing. You don't want to be visible to animals and robots and stuff. But when you're just walking around in the world, like grass doesn't move out of the way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, even the tall grass.
No, the tall grass does.
Yeah.
And that's the only grass that moves. But
Yeah, that's-
every other kind of like foliage does not.
That's the thing with The Witcher as well. Only tall grass moves.
Interesting.
Damn it.
I should have a look at Zelda. I know that you can cut down pretty much any length of grass. Some of it's very tall and some of it's very short, and you can still cut it down. I don't know if it.
What do you do with the grass?
There's no direct reason to do it, but sometimes when you do cut down grass, you can reveal like the insects or critters living in the grass, so
That's cool.
and then you can catch crickets or whatever.
Yeah, one of our workmates was complaining that he spent like quite a long time trying to hunt down a cricket
That he could hear.
that he could hear.
And I think he may be right that like maybe there is directional sound that isn't associated with it.
It could just be
monster, but-
regular cricket sounds, not
Oh, just like in the world?
yeah, just
in
regular
real
world
life?
cricket sounds, not
Yeah.
like associated with this one particular cricket that
Yeah,
you
there
can
are
catch.
cicadas out now.
Yeah.
I actually think it's possible that he was hearing the cricket in the grass and didn't cut down the grass or whatever.
Right.
But I don't
know. He
for
made
sure.
it sound like there was no grass around to cut down.
Yeah, I would be surprised if there was no grass to cut down. You don't really hear crickets in like snowy areas, for example, or
Okay.
in desert areas. Oh
There's
man,
desert areas.
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
I actually saw a little bit of that. Some of the desert.
They do
with
some-
the what is it? A seal? A freaking
Oh, it's the sand seals.
I think so. Yeah.
What the?
Yeah,
What?
if you sneak up on the sand seal, which looks like a walrus, not a seal. What's happening, Nintendo? Come on. You can like lasso them, and then like they'll start like running away from you,
Yep.
and so you'll be like sort of ghost riding the whip, as it were.
Oh my god.
For a sand seal, you'll be like being towed around in the sand.
Wait, are you surfing on your shield?
I don't even think you're surfing on your shield. I think
We're
you
just
might
getting
be-
dragged.
Yeah, just getting dragged through the sand.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
It's pretty fun. They also do these interesting like limitation things where if you climb too high, it gets cold,
Right,
know,
that's cool.
and so your character gets too cold,
Mm.
and you start like taking damage. But if you put on like some warmer clothes, or if you eat something that warms you up, you can then last in the cold areas for a while. Same thing for hot areas. The desert is very interesting because it swings between both cold and hot.
Oh, right. At night. It's cold.
At night it gets
Yep.
too cold, and in the daytime it gets too hot,
Yep.
which is very interesting. You know,
Jeez, what happens if you're at like the top of a mountain with snow, and then you start cooking food? Does like the snow start parting? Does it wear away?
Oh, yeah. Can you melt
you know
snow?
what? I haven't tried lighting a fire in any snowy areas. I do know that if you're carrying a torch, or if you do light a fire in snowy areas, you can warm yourself up that way.
Mm-hmm.
So there is like a reason to do that, but I don't know if graphically anything changes.
Yeah,
I do know you can like freeze foods and stuff,
that's cool.
and you can also like accidentally cook foods and stuff. And you can if you cook something that's already been cooked, it just burns up.
Oh yeah, no, we saw it in that clip just before. You kill one of those. What is it? A cow with a flaming
Donkey
mallet.
killed a bull with a meteor rod and cooked some prime.
Yeah, he had
prime
some
meat.
seared steak.
Mm,
Yeah.
yum.
3 steaks popped out of it.
Yep.
Yep.
I think maybe it's just 2, but yeah.
Wow, doesn't matter.
I love video games, man.
Video games are great.
Video games are great.
Yeah.
If you, I think we actually might be out of time.
Yeah, we probably are.
It's a shame because I could talk about Zelda for hours more.
Dude,
if you've
like-
been playing Zelda, email us friendseequestions@gmail.com. What was that, Blake?
I was just gonna say, like both of you guys just made me want to play these games like so much. Like I'm getting a PlayStation in a couple of days for it.
On the next episode, Blake will have some stuff to say.
Yep.
He's moving into the console.
I'm becoming a real gamer.
Yep.
I think if you're strictly looking for like a good value proposition, the PlayStation 4 is probably the better way to go right now, rather than Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the way I figure it is that PlayStation 4 has got so many like exclusives now, which is what I'm for. Maybe I'll get a Switch someday when there's more exclusives up that I want to play.
Yeah, the Mario game that comes out,
That Mario game does look
Odyssey,
pretty good.
that looks like
it'll
have some pretty.
But I need more than 2. Come on.
Yeah.
Give me a real
Mario
reason.
Kart. And then Smash Bros. Will come.
I mean, I'm a Mario Kart 64 man.
Oh,
I'll always be.
Yep. All right. Battle.
For
Yep,
the
Battle.
recent ones have been very good though.
I wouldn't know.
I think I might have one of them.
Yeah.
We got a Wii U.
Dude, the
secondhand.
thing I didn't like about Mario Kart on the Wii is you got the stupid motion control steering wheel.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yep.
I hate it so
Use
much.
the damn Pro Controller or whatever. it's called.
That's the way it should be.
You just can't steer straight.
Yeah.
Your arms just get fatigued.
Dude, I remember playing it at like I was at Rush Digital actually, and they had one of those, and because you put the Wiimote inside, so it's got the D-pad there. Every time we started, I would press the D-pad to move left and right, even though I'm holding the steering wheel.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's silly. Motion can. To rant on about Zelda one more time.
Oh boy.
What Nintendo has learned about motion controls is very clear in Zelda. They use it very subtly.
Yep.
You can you take out your bow and you aim with the stick, but then you can also fine tune that aiming with the movement.
Oh, that's cool.
And it feels very natural and it's about as close to like a mouse style aiming system as you can get.
It sounds like a real refinement. Like,
Yeah.
like it started off, in the Wii, big flailing movements, and now it's this very refined, subtle, just move a little bit.
Used for fine tuning
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
than
But complements the
main-
controller
Yeah.
rather than freaking bees the
Yeah,
controller.
be the controller.
Exactly.
Your body is the controller.
Exactly. There are other ones like there's some marble puzzles where you're tilting a thing, and the best way to control it is obviously
Tell
with
you
the
what,
motion controller.
Nintendo, if you're listening, I want to be able to cook in Zelda and use my Wiimote as
Oh, God.
as a fry pan handle, and I want to just
Interesting.
start
You
flipping.
want to flip it?
I want to flip steaks this way.
Damn it, that's actually cool.
Yeah, buddy.
That's going to result in so many tossed controllers.
Yep, you have to actually, the controller has to leave your hand.
Yeah,
Switch,
I'm making
especially.
pancakes.
You're holding the Switch screen. You just toss it in there. Ugh. Oh, man.
Does the PlayStation controller has some movement stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got an accelerometer. It's really handy when you're inputting text or whatever. I had to re-log in,
Yeah.
and it's really nice to do that instead of having to tap on the
Oh
freaking
right,
D-pad.
that's cool.
What I don't understand. How do you input text on a accelerometer? You're
You're-
tilting between the letters.
You're tilting, and then depending on the amount of tilt, it will drive a cursor on the screen.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, nice.
It is cool.
Yeah, I like where motion controls are at least going.
Yeah.
Which is more to subtle utility rather than like the thing that the game is about, which I think is the correct way to go.
Yeah, I haven't even found a use for it in Horizon, and it's better stay that way.
Better stay that way.
I think. Well, if it were like
what
aiming,
if there's what if in Horizon they're like, all right, now you got to cook some pancakes.
Oh shit!
Start moving your controller around.
Oh my
Like,
Yeah. No, I wouldn't like that.
are there pancakes in Horizon?
No, it's just those herbs.
There might be pancakes in Zelda. I haven't figured it out yet. There's so many recipes. Ugh.
there was something cool in Horizons that Ryan was talking about, where he was hunting those crab guys. Like he told you about this as well, but he was hunting those crab guys that I think were in one of the E3 demos, and he shot one of its containers off. But then he also around the same time at the same time got attacked by these little raptor dudes. So he sort of like went and scrapped them and like, you know, the fight took him away from the crab guys.
Yep.
Then when he dealt with them, he came back to get the loot that had fallen off, and it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Oh, this game, it must despawn. That sucks.
Right.
That's lame." And then he looks over and he sees that same crab guy had grabbed the container with one of its little crab claws, and was like holding it on its back and trying to like shuffle away at the same time. I was like, "Oh, dude, it just grabbed its like container back and is trying to run away." It's great.
And then he murdered it.
Yeah, and then he murdered it. And he
right.
said it was trying to fight him at the same time as holding this container, so it was at a disadvantage.
Jeez.
I was like, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to this game.
Yep.
And I'm looking forward to Zelda.
I want to see it next time we do a podcast.
Yep.
But in the meantime, if you've got any questions, we didn't answer any today, unfortunately. We've got a growing backlog of questions. Sorry, guys, but games got in the way this week.
Mm-hmm.
But we will answer some next week for sure. So tweet your questions to us at FrontSeatCast, or you can email us frontseatquestions@gmail.com. We have a Facebook page, facebook.com/frontseatcast. Frontseatgamer.wordpress.com is our website. And also we have a YouTube channel that Blake's been putting bites on.
Putting some bites, some bits
Some
and
bites.
some bites.
Bits and bites.
The pizza debate has been... I've been putting those up.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Anybody who says it's not warm is wrong.
Which is like a lot of people.
Yeah, well, they're
says that it's better. Actually, the funny thing I notice is that people that because people have actually written in since putting those up, who say about how they're a reheating person.
Yeah.
Every person that's written in has a different method of reheating. I find that really fascinating.
That is interesting. If you've got a method for reheating, tweet it to us. We also, you can rate us on iTunes. That would be cool. I don't know what it does. Do it.
Do it. It's what other podcasts say to do.
People
we
say
be
rate
like
us
them.
on iTunes, and we want to be those people too.
Yep.
So, you can check out hashtag AGPN on Twitter to see the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network that we are a part of. They've also got a Facebook page, AGPN Network.
Yeah.
Is there a group on?
They're supposed to be getting a website at some point, but I don't know when.
Cool.
And also, if you're playing one of these games, tell us what you like about them.
Absolutely. We do, man. Tell me the coolest thing if you're playing Zelda, tell me the coolest thing you found, because I've found some really cool stuff, and I want to talk to someone. There's so few people to talk to about Zelda, and I'm like,
I think hasn't a lot of people at work been playing Zelda?
Mike has. Jonathan got it on my recommendation.
Yeah. What did he think of it?
He hadn't played a lot of it, but he was having a good time.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked to him about it 2 days ago. He said he's enjoying it, and then I countered with that art, man. Yep. And then
Severn's wrong. We'll be back in a couple of weeks to talk about how wrong Saveun is about the graphics. All right.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Cool.
Yep.
Shall we get started?
Can do, yeah.
God damn it!
What?
I've got to. All right. I'm gonna try and not get emotional in this fucking thing.
It's interesting that you got.
I want the
You want
most
emotion?
emotional cast
You want
ever.
fucking emotion?
Why don't you want to get emotional?
Oh no, sorry. I get heated and excited and stuff. I start
that's
saying
fine.
dumb shit.
That's what the listeners want, man.
Yeah.
Hey,
But the question is, like,
Talking about slaves, we're a slave to the listener.
you were very passionate about how much you dislike Nintendo at this point, which is interesting to me because it seems like they had a shitty console generation, Like the Wii U was bad.
I think 2. Oh, it's approaching 3. 3 shitty consoles.
So the Wii was one of the most profitable consoles in history.
Yeah, but it didn't have the
How's
games
that-
that,
how's that
actual
third-party?
gamers
It
wanted.
didn't. It didn't.
It had
But-
games that
Should we just go
mums
right
and
into
dads
this
wanted.
podcast?
Well, I mean, this isn't really what the podcast is going to be about, though, right? We're talking about the game.
Isn't it?
Well, I can't.
All
We're going out live.
I
We can
can't.
start it now if you want. And we
I
can talk
can't
about
rag
this.
on like Zelda's looks garbage, but the gameplay looks cool.
It doesn't look garbage either. Like it has like actual technical issues in terms of like they can't make it like the lower poly models, lower resolution textures, lower resolution screen, whatever. But like the art style is gorgeous. The world itself is gorgeous. Like the characters and animations are all great. Like him falling down those rocks is visceral because he's not just ragdolling, you know?
I think it really is a
think
game
I
that
can.
knows its limitations and has designed around that. You know?
Yeah.
Even then, it
It's
still runs up
even-
against some of its limitations. You get frame rate issues in towns and stuff. We can talk
Yeah.
about it. Anyway, let's get started, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
And I encourage you to just say what's on your mind, but I will crush you with my mind vice.
I know you will, Nick. I'm scared.
All right. Ready?
Mind Vice.
Yeah, it's from 30 Rock.
Let's do it.
Oh shit.
Um,
She.
Shit.